So Julius Caesar is dead. He's been stabbed to death, right there in the Senate by a group of men who called themselves liberators. They thought they were saving Rome from a tyrant. And for a moment, they probably believed the hard part was over. But here's the thing. Killing a man is one thing. Killing his legacy? That's a whole different ballgame. This is the story of how a revolution born from high ideals and bloody knives completely unraveled into chaos and civil war.
And with those famous last words, a dictator falls, and a massive power vacuum rips open across Rome. The conspirators, they've pulled it off, a shocking victory. But you have to wonder, what happens the morning after? What do you do when the man you just killed is way more popular than you'll ever be?
Right after the assassination, the conspirators, led by the incredibly noble and idealistic Brutus, announced that ambition's debt is paid. They are absolutely convinced they've restored freedom to Rome. But in that quiet that follows, they're facing a city that's just gripped by fear and confusion, and a future that is, well, dangerously unwritten. Okay, right here, this is the first, and you could argue the most critical mistake. Against all the advice from his more street-smart colleagues, Brutus makes a call based entirely on his own strict code of honor. He lets Mark Antony, Caesar's charismatic, fiercely loyal right-hand man, speak at the funeral. Brutus believes in things like fairness and free speech. He genuinely thinks Antony will keep his word. The much more pragmatic Cassius sees the danger immediately. He knows Antony, and more importantly, he knows the people of Rome. He's practically begging Brutus, warning him that giving Antony a public stage is a catastrophic error. But Brutus, so confident in his own righteousness and his ability to sway the crowd with pure logic, just overrules. So, the stage is set. But this isn't going to be a debate. It's a rhetorical war. In the middle of the Roman Forum, with Caesar's body lying right there for everyone to see, two men are about to give a speech. One is going to try and justify a murder with reason. The other, he's going to try and start a war with emotion. The entire fate of the Republic really does hang on who's better with words. Brutus goes first, and his speech is exactly what you'd expect. Calm, intellectual, almost like a lecture. He's appealing to the people's minds, to their sense of logic, and their love for the Republic. He frames what they did not as a murder, but as a necessary evil, a sacrifice for freedom. And you know what? Incredibly, it works. The crowd is totally convinced. They cheer for him, even shouting, "Let him be Caesar," a moment he definitely did not see coming. I mean, just look at the difference in their strategies. It couldn't be more night and day. Brutus is talking to their brains, right? He's using big, abstract ideas like honor and country. It's a lofty, intellectual argument. Antony, though, he aims straight for the gut. He's not trying to win a debate. He's trying to start a riot. And he does it by using real, tangible things. Caesar's will, his bloody cloak, his wounded body, to take the crowd's grief and twist it into pure rage. Then Antony takes the stage, and his opening is just brilliant. He says he's not there to praise Caesar, which of course is exactly what he's about to do. And then he launches his masterstroke of irony, repeating over and over and over again that Brutus is an honorable man. And with every single repetition, the words just drip with more and more sarcasm, until honorable starts to sound a whole lot like traitor. He pulls out every single stop. He dramatically stops his speech to weep, making his grief seem totally overwhelming. He teases them with Caesar's will, knowing their greed will make them scream to hear it. And then, the knockout blow. He unveils Caesar's mangled body, pointing to each stab wound, naming the so-called honorable man who made it. He turns the liberators into a pack of butchers right before their eyes. And just like that, the crowd, which was cheering for Brutus just minutes before, is now a raging lynch mob. Antony's speech is over. His work is done. He lit the fuse. And now all he has to do is step back and watch Rome burn. As the citizens storm off to hunt down the conspirators, Antony lets us in on his real, terrifying goal. This was never about justice for Caesar. It was about unleashing domestic fury and fierce civil strife. He wanted chaos, and boy, did he get it. The result of Antony's fiery words is just horrific. Reason is completely dead. The mob grabs this innocent guy, Cinna the poet. He's pleading with them, "I am Cinna the poet, I am not Cinna the conspirator." Their reply is chilling. Tear him for his bad verses. They murder him anyway. This is mob rule in its purest, ugliest form. So that liberty Brutus was hoping to restore? Yeah, that's dead on arrival.
The power vacuum doesn't get filled by a restored republic. Nope, it's filled by something far more ruthless, a brand new triumvirate. Antony, Caesar's young heir Octavius, and a general named Lepidus join forces, and their first order of business is to draw up a hit list, casually trading away the lives of their own family members to consolidate power. So while their enemies are uniting, these so-called liberators, now fugitives on the run from Rome, begin to completely fall apart. They're forced to raise armies, live in military camps, and the immense pressure starts to show the cracks in their alliance. That great friendship between the idealist Brutus and the pragmatist Cassius starts to fracture.
Brutus senses it first. When one of his officers says Cassius treated him with a cold formality, Brutus observes that their friendship, which was once so passionate, is now just strained and artificial. This is the setup for one of the most powerful scenes in all of Shakespeare, the argument in the tent.
All their resentments just explode into the open. Brutus, the rigid moralist, is furious that Cassius has been raising money for their armies through shady means, like taking bribes. He accuses Cassius of having an itching palm, of tainting their noble cause with dirty money. The fight gets deeply, deeply personal. Cassius is so wounded by the accusations that he offers Brutus his dagger and bares his chest. He cries out that Brutus loves Caesar more even in the moment he was killing him than he has ever loved Cassius. It's just a moment of profound heartbreak and jealousy, showing the insane toll this war has taken on them. After they finally make up, they have to talk strategy. Cassius, the better soldier, argues that they should wait, let the enemy come to them, make them exhaust their resources. But Brutus, for the second time, overrules him. Guided by some philosophical idea about tides in the affairs of men, he insists they march to Philippi. It's another disastrous, idealistic decision that seals their fate. That very same night, the weight of what he's done literally comes back to haunt him. As he's trying to read in his tent, the ghost of Caesar appears. The ghost tells him one simple, terrifying thing. Thou shalt see me at Philippi. It's an omen. Brutus's crime isn't buried in the past. It's marching with him to the battlefield. And so, here we are, the final act, on the fields of Philippi. This is where the revolution will die. And it won't just be by the enemy's sword. It will die through a tragic comedy of errors, miscommunication, and despair, all while the ghost of the man they murdered watches on. Their final defeat is just a tragic chain reaction. First, Cassius sends his friend Titinius to check on some nearby troops. His servant, watching from a hill, sees Titinius surrounded by cheering soldiers and thinks he's been captured. He runs back and tells Cassius the wrong information. In complete despair, believing his best friend is gone and the battle is lost, Cassius kills himself. Then Titinius returns, totally unharmed, carrying a wreath of victory, and finds Cassius dead. So, in his grief, he takes his own life. Finally, with his army defeated and his friends gone, Brutus knows it's over and takes his own life as well. When Brutus finds the bodies of his friends, he understands the terrible truth. He finally gets it. They weren't fighting Antony and Octavius. They were fighting the ghost of Caesar. Caesar's spirit, his influence, is even more powerful in death than it ever was in life, and it has literally turned their own swords against them. With his last breath, Brutus speaks directly to Caesar's ghost. He says, basically, "Okay, Caesar, you can rest now." He admits that killing himself is done with a much better will than when he killed Caesar. It's a final, tragic admission of the personal horror and doubt that has haunted him since that day. In the end, it's his enemy, Mark Antony, who gives his eulogy. He calls Brutus the noblest Roman of them all, because while the others killed Caesar out of envy, Brutus was the only one who truly believed he was doing it for the good of Rome. And that leaves us with the central puzzle of the whole story. What do you do with the legacy of a good man whose noble intentions led to absolute disaster?